The smoke still rose from the ruined colony, turning the sunset into something ugly and red. Jiwoo walked through the broken buildings with her medical kit, searching for survivors. The battle had ended 3 days ago, but the smell of death still hung in the air. She was supposed to leave with the other humans tomorrow. This was her last sweep through the abandoned sector. She heard it then. A small sound, like a whimper. Jiwoo froze and listened. There it was again, coming from beneath a collapsed wall. She moved carefully toward the sound, pushing aside chunks of concrete and twisted metal. Her hands found something warm and furry. She pulled back in shock. Draxian fur. The enemy. Jiwoo hesitated. Every instinct told her to walk away. The Draxians had killed hundreds of humans in this colony. They were the reason she was here. Patching up wounded soldiers instead of living her quiet life back on Earth. But that sound came again, and this time she recognized it. Fear. Pure, childlike fear. She dug faster. Her fingers bled as she pulled away sharp debris. Finally, she created an opening large enough to see inside. 2 pairs of large golden eyes stared back at her from the darkness. Cubs. They couldn't have been more than small children in human years. Their gray fur was matted with ash and blood. They pressed against each other, shaking. "It's okay," Jiwoo whispered, though she knew they probably couldn't understand. She made her voice soft and reached out her hand slowly. The smaller one hissed and bared tiny fangs. The larger one pushed the little one behind protectively. Jiwoo pulled out a ration bar from her pocket. She broke off a piece and held it out. The cubs stared at the food. They had to be starving. Slowly, the larger cub crept forward and snatched the food, then scrambled back. They ate like they hadn't seen food in days. Probably hadn't. "Where are your parents?" Jiwoo asked quietly. She looked around at the destruction. She already knew the answer. No parent would leave their cubs alone in this hell. They were orphans, war orphans. She should report this. Let command decide what to do with enemy young. They would probably be sent to a Draxian refugee camp, or maybe used as bargaining chips, or maybe just left here to die. Jiwoo's stomach twisted at the thought. The smaller cub started crying, a sound that was heartbreakingly similar to a human child. The larger one tried to comfort the little one, making soft, chirping noises. They were just babies, terrified babies who had lost everything. Jiwoo made a decision that would change her life forever. "Come on," she said gently. "Come with me. I won't hurt you." She held out both hands. The cubs looked at each other, then at her. They had no other choice, and somehow they seemed to know it. Getting them to the transport ship was the hardest thing Jiwoo had ever done. She hid them inside a large equipment crate, promising to come back. She filed her final reports, saying she found nothing in the abandoned sector. She avoided eye contact with her commanding officer. That night, when everyone was asleep, she smuggled the crate into her personal quarters. The cubs tumbled out, looking around the small room with wide eyes. Jiwoo locked the door and knelt down to their level. "I'm Jiwoo," she said, pointing to herself. "Jiwoo," she pointed to them questioningly. The larger cub seemed to understand. "Taemin," he said in a rough, unfamiliar voice. He pointed to the smaller one. "Hana." "Taemin and Hana," Jiwoo repeated, smiling. "Okay, we're going to figure this out together." The next weeks were exhausting. Jiwoo kept the cubs hidden during the day, telling her bunkmate she needed privacy for meditation. She brought them food from the mess hall, claiming she was extra hungry. She cleaned their wounds and taught them to be quiet. Taemin learned quickly that discovery meant danger. Hana was smaller, only about 4 in human years, and sometimes she cried at night. Jiwoo would hold her, rocking her like she had seen mothers do, until the crying stopped. They started to trust her. Taemin would follow her around the small quarters, mimicking her movements. Hana would curl up next to her when they slept. One evening, as Jiwoo was teaching them simple human words, Hana climbed into her lap and said something in Draxian. Then she said it in broken human language. Umma. Jiwoo's translator app told her what it meant. Mom. Her eyes filled with tears. Oh, sweetheart, I'm not. But Hana just snuggled closer, purring softly. Tae-min looked at Jiwoo hopefully. Umma? He asked. What could she say? These cubs had lost their real mother. They needed someone. They needed her. Yes, Jiwoo whispered. Umma. The transport ship arrived at the main human station 2 weeks later. Jiwoo knew what she had to do. She couldn't take the cubs to a military base. They would be discovered immediately. She needed to disappear. She packed everything she owned into 2 bags, drugged the cubs just enough to keep them sleepy, and waited for her moment. During a shift change, she walked off the transport and disappeared into the crowded station. She traded her military ID to a forger for fake civilian papers. She bought passage on a transport to Outpost Haven, a neutral frontier station where nobody asked too many questions. She spent the last of her savings on a small apartment and some basic tools. Jiwoo registered as a mechanic. She enrolled the cubs in a small school, claiming they were a rare hybrid species. The other residents were too busy with their own problems to care. Slowly, carefully, Jiwoo built a new life. She was no longer a soldier. She was a mother. And every time Tae-min and Hana called her Umma, she knew she had made the right choice, even if it meant she could never go home again. 3 years had passed since Jiwoo arrived at Outpost Haven with 2 frightened Draxian cubs. Now, Tae-min was 7 and Hana was 9, at least by human counting. They had grown tall and strong, their gray fur now glossy and healthy. They wore human-style clothes that Jiwoo modified to fit their tails and digitigrade legs. To most people on the station, they looked like just another alien species in the diverse crowd. Jiwoo's repair shop had become successful. She had a gift for fixing broken things, whether they were human, Draxian, or any of the dozen other species that passed through the station. Her small workspace smelled like machine oil and welding metal. Tae-min spent every afternoon after school sitting at her workbench, watching her hands move with tools. Umma, why does this coupling keep failing? Tae-min asked, holding up a broken engine part. He spoke human language perfectly now, with only a slight rumble in his voice that marked him as Draxian. Jiwoo examined the piece. See these stress marks? The metal is fatigued. It's been working too hard for too long. Sometimes things break just from being tired. Like people? Tae-min asked. Jiwoo smiled sadly. Yes, like people. She ruffled the fur on his head. That's why we rest. That's why we have family. Hana burst into the shop, her school bag bouncing against her back. Umma, Teacher Young-mi says my painting is good enough for the station art show. She held up a canvas that showed a stunning sunset, but with 2 suns instead of 1, painted in colors that human eyes could barely perceive. It was how Draxians saw light. It's beautiful, Jiwoo said honestly. You have your mother's talent. She always referred to their birth mother when she could. The cubs needed to know where they came from. I had 2 mothers, Hana said simply, hugging Jiwoo. One gave me life and one taught me how to live. These moments made everything worth it. The fear, the hiding, the constant worry. Jiwoo had given up her career, her home world, her entire past. But watching Tae-min and Hana grow into bright, happy children made her heart full. Dae-hyun stopped by the shop every evening. He was the station security chief, a broad-shouldered human with kind eyes and too many responsibilities. He was also one of the few people who knew Jiwoo's secret. Evening, Jiwoo, he said, accepting the cup of tea she offered. Kids doing okay? Tae-min is building a micro-generator from scrap parts. Hana got into the art show. We're good. Jiwoo kept her voice light, But Dae-hyun could hear the tension underneath. "You saw the news?" he asked quietly. Ji-woo nodded. The war between humans and the Draxian Empire was getting worse. There were rumors of a major fleet movement, of battles on the rim worlds, of colonies burning, just like the one where she had found the cubs. "If it comes here," Dae-hyun started. "It won't," Ji-woo said firmly. "This is neutral space. Both sides respect that. For now." Dae-hyun looked at Tae-min, who was carefully soldering components together. "Have you thought about what happens when they're older, when they start asking questions about their people?" "Every day," Ji-woo admitted. "I teach them what I can. Old Draxian data files, cultural records, language, but it's not the same as living it." A few days later, a Draxian merchant ship docked at the station. Ji-woo's blood went cold when she saw the notification. She immediately called the school. "Young Mi, keep the kids inside today. Don't let them out until I come get them." Young Mi, a gentle human woman who had become a trusted friend, understood immediately. "Already done. They're helping me organize the supply closet." Ji-woo watched from her shop as 3 Draxian merchants walked through the station. They were adults, massive and powerful, with the same gray fur as her cubs. One of them glanced toward her shop. She held her breath, but they just kept walking, heading toward the trade center. They stayed for 2 days. Ji-woo barely slept. She kept the cubs inside, telling them there was a station-wide safety drill. Taemin seemed suspicious but didn't ask questions. Hana just played with her art supplies, content to be near her Uma. When the Draxian ship finally departed, Ji-woo sat down on her workshop floor and cried from relief. Dae-hyun found her there. "This can't last forever," he said gently. "I know," Ji-woo whispered, "but I'll protect them as long as I can." That night, she gathered both cubs close. "I need you to promise me something," she said. "If you ever meet other Draxians, real Draxians from the Empire, you need to remember who you are. You're Draxian. That's your blood, your heritage. I'm just the one who's taking care of you until—" "Until what?" Tae-min asked, his golden eyes serious. Ji-woo couldn't finish. Until their real family found them? Until the war ended? Until someone took them away from her? "Until you're ready," she finally said. "Until you're strong enough to choose your own path." "I choose you," Hana said stubbornly. "You're our Ummah." "I choose you too," Tae-min agreed. "Always." Ji-woo held them tight, knowing that love couldn't protect them from everything, but it was all she had to give. The weeks passed peacefully. Tae-min fixed his first complete engine, and it actually worked. Hana's painting won second place in the art show, hanging in the station's main corridor where thousands of people saw it every day. Ji-woo's business grew. They had enough money to eat well, to live comfortably, to pretend they were just a normal family. But Ji-woo watched the news every night after the cubs went to sleep. The war was spreading. The Draxian Empire was mobilizing more ships than ever before, and deep in her heart, she knew that their peaceful years were running out. She just didn't know how little time they had left. One evening, as they ate dinner together, Hana asked, "Uma, do you think our Appa is still alive? Our birth father?" Ji-woo's throat tightened. She had always assumed their parents died in the colony attack. "I don't know, sweetheart." "Why do you ask?" "I had a dream," Hana said, "about a big Draxian warrior. He was looking for something. He seemed sad." Ji-woo forced a smile. It was just a dream. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about a grieving Draxian father somewhere, searching for his lost cubs. She thought about what would happen if he ever found them. Would he understand what she had done? Or would he see only a human who had stolen his children? She pushed the thought away. It didn't matter. The galaxy was enormous. The chances of anyone tracking 2 lost cubs to a random frontier station were impossible. She had to believe that. She had to believe they were safe. The alarm woke Jiwoo before dawn. Not her personal alarm, but the station-wide emergency broadcast. Her eyes snapped open and she grabbed her communicator. The message was short and terrifying. Draxian battlecruiser approaching. All residents remain calm. This is neutral territory. Jiwoo was out of bed instantly. She ran to the Cubs' room. Taemin was already awake, his ears flat against his head in fear. Hana was sitting up, rubbing her eyes. "Uma? What's wrong?" Hana asked. "Get dressed. Now." "Quickly." Jiwoo's hands shook as she pulled out the emergency bag she had kept packed for 3 years. "We might need to leave." "Is it the Draxians?" Taemin asked quietly. He was old enough now to understand what that meant. Jiwoo nodded. She had always been honest with them. "Yes." The station shuddered as the massive ship docked. Jiwoo could feel the vibration through the floor. Whatever ship had arrived, it was enormous. Military grade. She turned on the public feed and watched with growing horror as Draxian warriors filed into the station. There were at least 20 of them, all armed, all moving with deadly purpose. Leading them was a Draxian unlike any Jiwoo had seen before. He stood taller than the others, his dark gray fur marked with scars from countless battles. He wore armor that gleamed with rank insignia. A ceremonial blade hung at his side. His golden eyes swept the docking bay with cold authority. The station administrator, Byung-ho, met them nervously. "This is neutral space. Under galactic law, we respect your neutrality," the Draxian commander said in perfect human language. His voice was deep and hard. "We are searching for deserters and stolen property. We will conduct a systematic search and then leave." "What property?" Byung-ho asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. "That is Draxian business." The commander gestured to his warriors. "Begin." Jiwoo watched the feed with ice in her veins. She knew what they were searching for. She didn't know how she knew, but she did. This warrior had been searching for a long time, and somehow his search had led him here. "Uma?" Hana whispered. "I know him. From my dream." Jiwoo's blood ran cold. She looked at Hana, then at the commander on the screen. "No," she breathed. "It's not possible." But she had to assume it was. She grabbed both cubs and pulled them toward the shop. "The hiding spot. Remember the hiding spot we made?" "But Umma! Now!" Jiwoo's voice was sharp with panic. She had built a hidden compartment in her workshop 3 years ago just in case. She prayed it would be enough. Dae-hyun burst into the shop minutes later. "Jiwoo! They're searching deck by deck. They have bioscanners. If those cubs are Draxian, the scanners will find them." "Then I run," Jiwoo said. She was already packing essentials. "There's an emergency shuttle in Bay 7, right?" "They've locked down all the bays." Dae-hyun grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. That commander is Kwan. He's famous in the Draxian military. He's a hero to them. And according to my sources, he's been searching every neutral station for 3 years. He's looking for his cubs." The words hit Jiwoo like a physical blow. "His cubs?" "He lost his mate and his children in a colony attack 3 years ago. He never found their bodies." Dae-hyun's eyes were full of sympathy. "Jiwoo, those children you saved? I think they're his." Jiwoo felt the world tilt. All this time she thought she was protecting orphans. But they had a father who had been searching for them with the dedication of a warrior who had lost everything. "I can't give them up," she whispered. "They're my children." "They're his children too," Dae-hyun said gently. "And he's going to find them. You need to decide how this happens. In hiding, or face to face." Jiwoo looked at the hidden compartment where Taemin and Hana waited. She could run. She could try to escape. But Dae-hyun was right. Kwan would search every inch of this station. He would tear it apart if he had to. And when he found them, If they were hiding in a hole, scared and trapped, what would that do to them? "I need to think," she said, but there was no time to think. The communicator crackled. "All residents, Sector 7. The Draxian search team is approaching Sector 7. Comply with all requests." Sector 7. Her sector. Young Mai's voice came through on a private channel. "Ji-woo, I'm creating a distraction. Fire alarm in the school sector. It'll buy you maybe 10 minutes. Whatever you're going to do it now." Ji-woo heard the alarm blare through the station. She made her decision. She couldn't let the cubs be found hiding like criminals. She opened the compartment. Taemin and Hana looked up at her with absolute trust. "Come out," she said softly. "We're not hiding anymore." "What are we doing?" Taemin asked. "We're going to face this together." Ji-woo took their hands. "Like a family." They walked out of the shop just as the Draxian warriors entered the corridor. The warriors raised their weapons immediately. Ji-woo pushed the cubs behind her, standing between them and the guns. "Wait," one warrior said, looking at his scanner. "Commander Quan, 2 Draxian juveniles detected. Genetic markers matching—" He stopped, his eyes widening. Quan appeared from around the corner. His massive form seemed to fill the entire hallway. His eyes locked onto the cubs and his entire body went rigid. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Ji-woo saw something crack in that warrior's face. Pain, hope, disbelief, all flashing across his features in an instant. His hand moved to the blade at his side. "Run," Ji-woo whispered to the cubs. "Run to the shuttle bay. Find Dae-hyun." But the cubs didn't run. Taemin and Hana stood frozen, staring at the Draxian warrior. Quan drew his blade. The sound of metal sliding from its sheath echoed in the corridor. Other station residents scattered, fleeing from the coming violence. Ji-woo stood her ground, weaponless, facing a trained killer. "You," Quan said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "You took them! You stole my children!" "I saved them," Ji-woo said. Her voice was steady even though she was terrified. "I found them in the ruins, alone, dying. I saved them." Quan raised the blade. His eyes were full of 3 years of grief and fury. Ji-woo closed her eyes. If she was going to die, at least she had given Taemin and Hana 3 good years. 3 years of love and safety and happiness. She waited for the blade to fall. Ji-woo waited for death. The blade hung in the air, caught in Quan's trembling hand. Every warrior in the corridor stood frozen, watching their commander. The silence stretched like a physical thing. Then Hana moved. "Appa!" The word burst from her like a sob. She tore away from Ji-woo's protective stance and ran toward the massive Draxian warrior. "Appa, it's me! It's Hana!" Taemin followed half a second later. "Appa, we thought you were dead!" The 2 cubs crashed into Quan's legs, wrapping their small arms around him. They were crying, their words tumbling out in a mix of human language and broken Draxian. The blade wavered. Quan's free hand reached down slowly as if he couldn't quite believe they were real. His fingers touched Hana's head, feeling the soft fur there. "Sunhee's daughter," he whispered. His voice broke on his dead mate's name. "You have her eyes." "Appa, please don't hurt our Amma," Hana begged, looking up at him with those golden eyes. "Please, she saved us. She took care of us. She's our mother." Quan's gaze lifted to Ji-woo. The rage was still there, burning in his eyes, but now it was mixed with confusion and something else, something that looked like pain. "You are human," he said. It sounded like an accusation. "Yes," Ji-woo said simply. She didn't try to defend herself. What could she say? That she had deserted her military post? That she had hidden his children for 3 years? That she had made them call her mother while he searched for them in desperation? All of it was true. "You took them from their people, from their culture, from me. Kwan's hand tightened on the blade handle. I took them from death, Jiwoo said. Her voice was strong now. I found them in ruins. Your colony was destroyed. Everyone was dead or gone. They were starving, terrified, alone. I could have left them. I could have reported them. But I'm human. And humans don't leave children to die. Even enemy children. You should have returned them to Draxian forces. So they could be raised in a war camp? So they could learn to hate the species that killed their birth mother? So they could become soldiers in a war that took everything from them? Jiwoo shook her head. I gave them something better. I gave them childhood. Asul, Kwan's second-in-command, stepped forward. Commander, the human is right about the colony. Everyone perished there. We searched the records. No survivors were reported to any Draxian military base. She did save them. Kwan looked down at his cubs. Taimin was taller now, stronger. Hana had grown graceful and bright. They wore strange clothes and spoke an enemy language fluently. But they were alive. They were healthy. They were happy. Let me see them, Kwan said quietly. The cubs released his legs and stepped back. Kwan knelt down, bringing himself to their level. Even kneeling, he was enormous compared to them. His battle-scarred hands moved over them gently, checking for injuries, for signs of mistreatment. He found none. Their fur was glossy. Their eyes were clear. They had been well-fed, well cared for, well loved. You speak human language, Kwan said to Taemin. Uma taught us, but she also taught us Draxian words from old files. She told us stories about our people. She made sure we knew where we came from. Taemin's voice was earnest. She never let us forget we were Draxian. Kwan's jaw clenched. He stood and turned to Jiwoo. Show me where they lived. It wasn't a request. Jiwoo led the group to her shop and the small apartment above it. Kwan and his warriors filled the tiny space, making it seem even smaller. Kwan looked around at the simple furniture, the children's drawings on the walls, the two small beds pushed together in one room. He picked up one of Hana's paintings. It showed a human woman and two Draxian cubs holding hands under a double sunset. At the bottom, in careful human letters, Hana had written, My family. Kwan set the painting down carefully. He moved to Taemin's corner, where engineering projects covered every surface. Complex devices built from scrap parts. A small engine that actually worked. Mathematical formulas written on scraps of paper. He has his mother's mind, Kwan said quietly. Sun-hee was an engineer, one of the best. He's brilliant, Jiwoo said. He can fix anything. Kwan turned to her. You taught him this? I taught him what I could. The rest is his own talent. The Draxian commander walked slowly around the apartment. He saw the simple meals, the worn furniture, the evidence of a life lived with very little money. He saw the old data files about Draxian culture. He saw the photos of the cubs growing up, smiling, playing, learning. In every photo, Jiwoo was with them. A human woman who had given up everything to raise enemy children. Why? Kwan asked finally. Why did you do this? You had nothing to gain, everything to lose. You sacrificed your career, your home, your people. For Draxian cubs. Why? Jiwoo met his eyes. Because they needed me. And because I'm human. We don't calculate worth before we care. We just care. Isul made a sound that might have been respect. Several other warriors shifted, their postures changing. They had come here expecting to find stolen children held against their will. Instead, they found a family. They call you Uma, Kwan said. Yes. They love you. Yes. You love them. Jiwoo's eyes filled with tears. With everything I am. Kwan was silent for a long time. His hand moved to his blade again. Jiwoo tensed. But this time he didn't draw it. He just rested his hand on the handle, as if drawing strength from it. "In Draxian law, you are a criminal," he said. "You stole military property. You harbored enemy aliens. You deserted your military post. You hid my children from me for 3 years. I know. I could execute you here, now, by my rights as a commander and a father. I know." Hana grabbed Jiwoo's hand. Taemin moved to stand beside her. Both cubs positioned themselves between Jiwoo and their father, their small bodies trembling but determined. "If you kill her, you'll have to kill us too," Taemin said, "because we won't live without our Ummah." Kwan's expression cracked completely. He looked at his cubs, standing defiant against him, protecting a human with their own lives. He looked at Jiwoo, who stood ready to die without fighting back. He looked at the humble home where his children had been raised with love. His hand fell away from the blade. His shoulders sagged as if a massive weight had settled on them. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. "What have you done to me, human? You have taken my children and made them yours. You have taken my hate and made me question it. You have shown me that the enemy has a heart." He closed his eyes. "What am I supposed to do now?" Kwan sat on the floor of Jiwoo's small apartment, looking strangely vulnerable despite his size. His warriors stood outside, giving their commander privacy. Inside, it was just Kwan, Jiwoo, and the cubs. Hana sat pressed against her father's side. Taemin sat on his other side, with Jiwoo across from them. "Tell me," Kwan said. "Tell me everything, from the beginning," Jiwoo told him. She described finding them in the ruins, terrified and alone. She described smuggling them onto the transport, making the choice to desert. She told him about the hard early days, about learning to be a mother to alien children, about every birthday and every scraped knee and every small triumph. Kwan listened without interrupting. Sometimes his jaw clenched. Sometimes his hands trembled. But he listened. "I tried to teach them about your people," Jiwoo said. "I know I'm not Draxian. I know I can't replace their real culture. But I did my best." "Show me," Kwan said. Taemin brought out the old data files. He activated a hologram projector he had built himself. Images of Draxian history flickered to life. "Ummah taught us about the First Empire," Taemin explained, "and about the warrior codes, and about the importance of family honor." Hana pulled out her paintings. "Ummah said my birth mother was beautiful. She showed me pictures from the colony database. I painted her. See?" She held up a portrait of a Draxian female with kind eyes. "This is her. This is the mother I don't remember." Kwan took the painting with shaking hands. "You look just like her," he whispered to Hana. "Sunhee would be so proud of you." "Tell us about her," Hana begged. "Ummah told us what she could, but you knew her. You loved her. Tell us." So Kwan did. He told them about their birth mother, about how Sunhee was the smartest engineer in the fleet, about how she laughed, about how she sang to them when they were tiny, about the day they were born, about how much she loved them. The cubs absorbed every word like starving plants soaking up water. Jiwoo watched them and understood something she had always known but never truly accepted. She could give them love and safety and education. But she couldn't give them this. Their history, their heritage, their father. "I need to know something," Kwan said to the cubs. "Are you happy? Has she been good to you?" "She's the best Ummah in the galaxy," Hana said immediately. "She taught me everything," Taemin added. "She protected us. She worked so hard to give us a home. She never made us feel like we were different or wrong. She just loved us." Kwan looked at Jiwoo with an expression she couldn't read. "You gave them a childhood. In the middle of a war, you gave enemy children a childhood." "They're not enemies," Jiwoo said. "They're just children." "That is a very human thing to say. Maybe that's not a bad thing." Kwan was quiet for a long moment. 3 years ago, I woke up in a medical bay. They told me the colony was destroyed. They told me my mate was dead. They told me they never found my cubs, which meant they probably died too. I didn't believe them. I searched every database, every refugee list, every cemetery, and then I found a report. A human medic saw 2 Draxian cubs in the ruins. But when they went back, the cubs were gone. You've been searching ever since, Ji-woo said. Every station, every colony, every possibility. My warriors thought I was mad. They said I should accept the loss and move on, but I couldn't. They were my cubs, my last connection to Sun-hee. I had to find them. He looked at his children. I thought I would find them in some terrible place, imprisoned, abused, experimented on. I was prepared to burn down the galaxy to get them back. And instead, you found them here, Ji-woo said, healthy and happy and safe. With the enemy? Kwan's voice was hard again. With someone who loves them, Ji-woo corrected. I'm not your enemy, Kwan. I never was. I'm just a woman who couldn't walk away from dying children. Isul entered the room carefully. Commander, we need a decision. What are your orders? Kwan stood. He looked down at the cubs, then at Ji-woo. There is an old Draxian custom, he said slowly. Clan bonding. When someone saves a life, they become part of that family. The bond is as strong as blood. I've read about it, Ji-woo said, but that's usually between Draxians. The law says nothing about species, Kwan said. He drew his blade. Ji-woo tensed, but Kwan turned the blade and offered her the handle. Ji-woo, human, you saved my cubs when I could not. You raised them when I thought they were dead. You gave them love and safety and knowledge. By Draxian law and custom, I offer you clan bonding. You will be recognized as co-parent to my children. You will have equal authority, equal responsibility, equal honor. Ji-woo stared at the blade. What does that mean? Practically? It means you come with us. You, me, and the cubs. We raise them together. You teach them human compassion. I teach them Draxian strength. They become the bridge between our peoples. You want me to come with you? To a Draxian ship? While there's a war happening? Yes. That's insane. Yes. Your warriors will never accept me. Kwan looked at Isul. His second-in-command stepped forward and placed her hand over her heart. Commander Kwan is the most honorable warrior I know. If he says this human has earned clan bond, then she has earned it. I will honor the bond. One by one, the other warriors did the same. They were pledging loyalty not just to Kwan, but to Ji-woo as well. Umma, please, Hana begged. Don't leave us. Come with us. I want both of you, Taemin said. My Appa and my Umma. Is that wrong? No, cub, Kwan said gently. That's not wrong. That's love. Ji-woo looked around the small apartment. This had been her home for 3 years, her sanctuary, her hiding place. But it was never meant to be forever. She looked at the cubs, who were watching her with desperate hope. She looked at Kwan, who was offering her something impossible and beautiful and terrifying. She took the blade handle. I accept the clan bond. Kwan's expression softened into something almost like a smile. He guided her hands through the traditional ceremony, teaching her the words in Draxian. When it was complete, he placed his hand over hers on the blade handle. You are clan now. You are family. My cubs are your cubs. Your home is my home. We are bound until death. Until death, Ji-woo repeated. The next hours were a blur. Dae-hyun and Young-mi came to say goodbye. Young-mi cried. Dae-hyun gave Ji-woo a tight hug and whispered, You did good, kid. You did real good. Byung-ho negotiated an official agreement. Outpost Haven would be under joint protection now, neutral to both sides. It was a small thing, but it was a start. Ji-woo packed what she could carry. The rest she gave away. She didn't need much. She had her tools, her clothes, and her family. That was enough. On the Draxian ship, the cubs ran through the corridors with other Draxian young, playing and laughing. They fit in perfectly, but they also stood out. They were different. They spoke two languages. They understood two cultures. They were the children of two mothers and one father, human and Draxian, a family that shouldn't exist, but did. Jiwoo stood on the observation deck with Quan, watching the stars. The ship was heading into Draxian space, into the heart of the Empire. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt strangely at peace. "They'll never fully fit in anywhere," Quan said quietly. "Not with humans. Not with Draxians." "Maybe that's okay," Jiwoo said. "Maybe the galaxy needs people who don't quite fit. People who can see both sides." "You believe this war will end?" "I believe our children will help end it. Somehow. Someday." Quan was silent. Then, "Thank you for saving them, for loving them, for being their Ummah. Thank you for finding us, for not killing me, for being their Appa." They stood together, two parents from different worlds, watching their children play. The future was uncertain. The war still raged. But for now, they had this. A family forged from tragedy and war and impossible love, and that was enough. Below them, Hana called out, "Ummah, Appa, come see what Tae Min built." Jiwoo and Quan looked at each other. Then they went together to see what their son had created. A family, different but whole. Broken but healing, impossible but real. The galaxy had never seen anything like them, and it would never be the same.